Well, it's official. The US penny, it's dead. And while the media pretends that this is just a cost-cutting move, the truth is far more sinister because today, guys, thanks to the Department of Government Efficiency, we now know what was really hiding behind America's most useless coin. And it's not just government waste, it's fraud, it's industrial scale fraud, guys. $179 million siphoned straight from your pockets through let's just call it a rigged system that was never meant to be fixed. But guess what, guys? President Donald Trump just pulled the plug, and DOGE, well, they just exposed the entire scheme. Now, stick with me, guys, because in the next 30 seconds, I want to share with you guys exactly how 240 billion pennies were used to prop up a fake demand system, if you will, and why some insiders are now terrified that President Trump might go after the nickel next. So trust me, you do not want to miss the names that are behind this supply chain. Now, some of these contracts, they're going to go all the way back to the Bush administration. Now, this is not just the death of a coin. This is unraveling. The unraveling of a $179 million fraud ring that really just kept lobbyists rich, agencies bloated, and taxpayers in the dark. So this is only the beginning. If you appreciate the daily news updates, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, how 60% of America's pennies were never meant to be spent, and how President Trump's final order in May 2025 triggered a wave of a panic among federal contractors. Guys, I want to go ahead and start with something. Let's just call it the moment that everything all changed. If we go back to February 9th, President Donald Trump didn't just post another True Social update. He dropped the hammer, guys. He said for far too long, the United States minted pennies, which literally cost us more than 2 cents. So this is wasteful. And I have instructed my Secretary of Treasury to stop producing new pennies. Now, boom, just like that, very quick, not even 100 characters, guys. The coin that has been floating around our pockets, in our ashtrays, in between our couches for like 230 years was done. Just like that. And this wasn't just a random budget tweak. This was part of a calculated offensive. This is led by Trump and DOGE to essentially crush the wasteful spending, one useless program at a time. Real quick, guys, do you guys think we should keep the penny? Or is the penny just completely useful? Like, did we just throw them in fountains? Like, people don't even value the penny anymore, right? But here's where it gets really wild. Just 2 weeks earlier, guys, the Department of Government Efficiency, you know them as DOGE, they posted on X that the penny didn't cost 2 cents. It actually cost $3.69 $3.69 to make each. Now, this was based on 2023 alone. We spent $179 million minting pennies that were worth only a fraction of that. Now, folks, if you think that this was just an accounting mistake, you're not thinking big enough. This was a pattern, a 19-year-long racket. Wait till I break this down for you guys. So now we know that the penny costs at least 4 times its face value to produce, right? And President Trump finally pulled the plug. But the real question is this. Why did it take nearly 20 years to end something that was so obviously broken? And the answer is because behind this tiny coin was a massive fraud ecosystem. Now, you see, every year the U.S. Mint signed off on contracts for special metal suppliers, coin blank manufacturers, and legacy minting vendors, right? Now, think about this for a second, right? These weren't some small-time players. These were federally protected payout pipelines, if you will. Penny production didn't serve the American people. It only served the insiders, people who knew this wasteful coin guaranteed millions and millions of government money, whether it made sense or not, to keep making it. It was kind of like a taxpayer funded subscription to losses. Yeah. And just like that, we saw, in DOGE's earlier investigations into agencies like the USAID, USAID, and the Inter-American Foundation, this wasn't a one-layer scam. There were contractors, subcontractors, and subcontractors. Each of these companies taking their cut. And by the time the actual raw materials were made into coins, most of the money was already gone. Like one former watchdog even described it as peeling an onion. And sometimes you get to the bottom and there's nothing left. But, it's no wonder that DOGE called this a manufactured demand operation, not a minting program. And let's not forget the role of the K Street lobbyists and the federal unions. You guys remember those guys, right? Anytime Congress tried to pass legislation to eliminate the penny, guess who showed up with donations, campaigns, and pressure? Oh no, we got to keep the penny. Exactly. Same people who are profiting off the scam. But it gets even worse because the real smoking gun isn't just the cost to produce the penny. It's what DOGE discovered about the 240 billion pennies that are still sitting out there right now. They're sitting out there in coin jars, drawers, ashtrays, fanny packs, never used, still used as an excuse to keep printing more of them. Now, of course, we need to talk about how the government inflated the need for pennies on purpose and why that lie kept this $179 million fraud ring around for years. Now, let's take it a step further. What if you're missing out on hundreds, maybe even thousands, just because you picked the wrong Medicare plan? Well, Leslie Taylor, she made a very simple and quick phone call. She's now saving $1,000 a year. Sharon Bertusik, she got dropped from her own Medicaid, but Chapter helped to get her plan back with zero premiums, zero cross meds, and her copay got cut from $89 to $20. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, this is not luck. This is what happens when you have someone in your corner. And this is why I stand strong with Chapter. So give our friends over at Chapter a call and see exactly how much money you can save on your Medicare today. So you can reach out to them at askchapter.org/Ron, or you can give them a phone call at 909-563-8279. And come back to this video, drop me a quick comment down below, and let me know how much money you were able to save with Chapter. Appreciate you guys. So you might be thinking to yourself, all right, so the penny was a waste, but at least people still get to use them, right? Wrong. And here's where the scam really unravels. According to the Federal Reserve, there are over 240 billion pennies currently in circulation. Guys, that's roughly like 720 pennies for every single American. Now, ask yourself, do you have 720 pennies that you can think of? Like, of course not. Because over 60% of them, they're just sitting in coin jars. They're not moving, they're not circulating, they're not getting spent. But that didn't stop the US Mint from churning out billions more every year. Now, DOGE went ahead and dropped the real bombshell here. This circulation demand, it was inflated on purpose. You see, the more they could claim pennies were needed, the more they could justify ongoing contracts, jobs, and payouts. Created like a phantom market, a ghost economy where demand was fabricated just to keep the money flowing. Now, the coin really wasn't serving the country. It was serving the contractors, the unions, the lobbyists. And the worst part, guys, every time that minting machine turned on, taxpayer money was getting set on fire. But now that the Trump administration has finally shut it down, you would think that the waste is over, right? Not so fast. Because in May of 2025, the government placed its final order for penny blanks. And that triggered a chain reaction inside federal agencies. Now, of course, we need to talk about what happens now that no new pennies are entering circulation and how DOGE is preparing for phase 2 of the purge. So after decades of waste, fake demand, and a $179 million annual fraud funnel, President Trump and DOGE finally pulled the plug. In May of 2025, the U.S. government submitted its final order for blank pennies. That was it. The last batch, the final minting. And starting in early 2026, no new pennies will enter circulation. The machines are going to go silent, the contracts will expire, and the phony justification for this decades-long operation, dead. So what happens now when you buy something in cash? Well, just like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, the US will round up prices or round down to the nearest 5 cents. Digital payments stay exact. Your Venmo, your card, Apple Pay, there's no change there. There's no chaos. There's no collapse, no riots, just common sense. Because let's be real, guys. When was the last time you really needed a penny, right? Trump and DOGE didn't just eliminate a coin. They ended a symbol of government inefficiency, and they exposed a layer that had bled American taxpayers for years. But the penny, well, that was just the first domino. Because guess what coin is costing taxpayers even more right now? You've guessed it, guys, the nickel. And DOGE already has it in the crosshairs. Now, of course, we need to talk about how this 5-cent piece is now costing almost 14 cents to make, and why insiders are panicking that Trump's not done slashing yet. So, yeah, if you thought that the penny was the biggest waste in your pocket, think again. Because while the headlines were focused on killing the 1-cent coin, DOGE quietly uncovered something even worse. According to the U.S. Mint's 2024 report, it now costs 13.78 cents to produce a 5-cent nickel. Guys, this is a loss of over 8 cents per coin. In total, $17.7 million in taxpayer money was wasted on nickel production just last year alone. Now, let me say it again. The government is spending nearly 3 times the value of the very nickel, the very coin, just to keep it alive. And for what? Outdated vending machines? Nostalgia? No. Just like the penny, the nickel has become another taxpayer boondoggle, and DOGE knows it. Now, take a look at this, guys. There's charts out here from the Mint showing that, while the dime and the quarter are still relatively efficient to produce, the nickel's costs have skyrocketed. It's losing value year after year, and unlike the dime, it doesn't deserve a critical function. It doesn't serve a critical function anymore. It just needs to go. I mean, this is why internal sources are already calling it Penny 2.0. And yes, President Trump's team is reportedly preparing options for ending nickel production next. But this actually leads us to a bigger question, right? If the penny and the nickel were both bleeding money, how many other federal programs are doing the exact same thing right now? Because DOGE's mission didn't stop at coins. It's already cut $175 billion in waste across the government. And the battle against deep state corruption and bureaucratic slush funds, this is far from over, guys. I mean, look, the penny was never just about copper. The nickel was not just about coins. These were fronts. These were symbols of a broken system that thrives on waste. It protects the insiders and it bleeds taxpayers dry. President Trump, he reinstated the Department of Government Efficiency. DOGE has already cut through over $175 billion in federal fraud, in federal waste, in federal corruption. So let that sink in, guys. That's over $1,000 saved per American? It's pretty substantial, is it not? So, yeah, from foreign aid scams to bloated agencies to phony coin production, DOGE is dragging it all into the light. No more hiding in the shadows. And it seems like the more they dig into this thing, the worse it gets, right? I mean, you might be asking, if it was so obviously wasteful, why didn't anybody stop it sooner? Why did they have to wait for DOGE to step in, right? Well, because the penny was it was just like a test case. This was like a litmus test. A safe, low-profile piece of the puzzle used by the radical bureaucrats, legacy contractors, and deep state insiders to see what they could get away with. And when President Trump ordered to kill it, well, the same people who blocked border security, delayed energy reform, and protected foreign lobby cash, they freaked out. They filed lawsuits. They weaponized the FOIA. They tried to smear DOGE in the media. Why? Because they know this is not just a coin getting canceled. This is a signal that their entire gravy train is coming to a screeching halt. That's why they're protesting in riots and just making all sorts of noise. Bunch of temper tantrums being displayed in the streets. So yeah, guys, it's gone. The penny is officially dead, and with it, A $179 million fraud ring that operated in plain sight for nearly 2 decades. But this was never about spare change. This was about taking back control of a bloated system that's been robbing you and me and our family and friends year after year while pretending it's just too small to matter. It did matter, and it's now done. And the mission's not over, because next, of course, the nickel, and then probably the rest of them. So if you guys want to stay ahead of every DOGE purge, every Trump reform, and every fraud ring getting exposed, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one.